What is going on, guys? We are back with another video, and we are doing another NFL draft redo. We are doing the years 2010 through 2012 for the Niners. Very tough to decide which years the Niners needed most. They actually had a really good patch in between, 2011 through 2013-ish. A lot of the guys did retire in between. Then they did make a couple of decent draft picks over the years, but we're going to see if they could have made any that would have been better. Also, if we can get 200 likes on this video, I will do another one of these this week. So with the first pick in the 2010 draft, number 11 overall, they took Anthony Davis, who was actually a decent offensive lineman for a while, but he did, retire rather quickly. I think he played only like 4 or 5 years, which is not a whole lot. And instead, they could have had Earl Thomas from the Seattle Seahawks, clearly a much better player because over the last good whenever he was drafted, so 7 years, pretty much consistently been one of the best, if not the best, free safety in the league. And there's obviously no doubt that he would have been a much better choice than Anthony Davis, who is currently still retired. Now, with the 49th pick, the 17th pick, the Niners actually did choose a pretty damn good pick, Mikey Iupati. He's on the Cardinals now, so I'm going to make the argument that it wasn't the best pick. It was still a great pick, but I'm going to say they could have had either Gronk or Dez. And, of course, with that being said, Dez Bryant is the choice here. So, Dez Bryant at number 17 instead of Mikey Iupati. Gronk was there in, the early second round, but he's, just like Dez, he's been injury-prone. But more importantly, the next couple of picks, we have an opportunity here to take another position. So, 50-50, on the wall there. You don't really know which I would have taken, but Dez and Gronk, it's a 50-50, like I said. But you can make any argument either way, really. Now, number 49, they took Taylor Mays, who, he bounced around a few teams, mainly with the Bengals, I believe. And he, not a bad pick for 49, serviceable. When you're still in the league, I think this might be his, last year. I haven't seen him in a while. But when you're in the league for quite a bit, bouncing around teams, you're at least good enough. But instead, they could have had a much better defensive player. And with that, they take Sean Lee, of course, who is really damn good for the Dallas Cowboys, and fills another linebacker spot in a 4-3 defense here. So at number 49, they take Sean Lee instead of Taylor Mays. Now this one is a tough one because at number 91, they took Navarro Bowman, who has been an amazing player for them. But of course, you now know, I believe he is on the Raiders. So we're gonna just say, for the hell of it, they didn't get the pick right, even though I would argue that they probably did. And at 91, instead of Navarro Bowman, they take Jimmy Graham, which is why I, made the argument of Dez over Gronk, because, now it's Jimmy Graham and Dez versus Jimmy Graham and, Gronk, so 2 tight ends they don't really need. But Jimmy Graham here at number 91 is the choice. Now getting into the last few picks of the year, 173, they took Anthony Dixon, the running back, big guy, really didn't get much done at all. And instead, they could have taken a way better player on offense, and that would, of course, be Antonio Brown. We all know what a playmaker he is, and on a team like the Niners with Dez, with Jimmy Graham, obviously he would do just as well, if not maybe even better, having even more talent around him. But either way, a much better pick than Anthony Dixon. And then going on to the style of offense, at 206, the last pick of the 2010 draft, the Niners take Kyle Williams, the wide receiver. And instead, they could have had a different offensive player by the name of LeGarrette Blount. How fitting, a guy that has bounced off of many teams finds his home with the Niners. A nice power back, and he is 30 now, but he's still pretty damn solid, and obviously a much better pick than Kyle Williams, who I assume is just not in the league anymore. And now here in 2011, there's a little bit of a tough choice, kind of. All 3 of the players mentioned here are actually really good, but they selected Aldon Smith, who, at the time, amazing player, correct pick. He was really damn good his rookie season. But instead of him, there's 2 other guys that could have had Tyron Smith, who is an amazing player, or J.J. Watt. And here's the player that we decided to choose. And, of course, we chose J.J. Watt. It's a tough one. It's really tough because Tyron, he's been consistent his whole career. Really doesn't get injured too much. Yeah, over his career, he's been pretty damn good. In 2012, he missed 1 game. In 2016, he missed 3 games. And I believe he has started all 8 so far for the Cowboys in real life at the moment. So, yeah, I think he's a great player, but J.J. Watt is a once-in-a-lifetime So it's very hard to argue against him. So that's who we choose here instead, of course, of Aldon Smith, who, once again, not a bad player himself. 2011, starting with the defense again. At number 36, the Niners, of course, chose a guy that you might have heard of, Colin Kaepernick. I'm going to argue that it wasn't the right choice. I mean, if they won a Super Bowl, have to say it's correct, but they didn't. And he really wasn't great at all. And like any team in the NFL, he really wasn't. He had, his moments, and he looked okay, but he was never really a true quarterback. But more importantly, instead of Colin Kaepernick, they could have had a different player who is really good, and that would, of course, be Justin Houston. Obviously a much better pick. He has been very, very consistent in his career as well. And, of course, that brings more pass rush and also replaces the non-pick of Aldon Smith. Number 80, defense again, Chris Culliver. Not the worst pick for a third-round draft pick, but instead of Chris Culliver, they could have had a different player, and that would be KJ Wright, who's over the years, or at least this year it seems, has dropped a bit in overall. But, for his first, 4 to 5 years, he was amazing. So I can't be wrong with this pick. I like it a lot. And now here at 115, a guy that I actually did kind of like, Kendall Hunter. I remember when the Niners had like 3 or 4 great running backs, the likes of Michael James, Kendall Hunter, Frank Gore, whatnot. But instead of him at 115, who of course is not in the league anymore, I do not believe, we have a much better guy here, none other than Richard Sherman. So the Legion of Boom is slowly becoming a San Francisco Legion of Boom. Richard Sherman at 115, one hell of a steal for the Seahawks, and now instead a better steal for the Niners. And here, 163, it's not the greatest pickup, but instead of Kilgore, who actually was on the team for quite a bit for the Niners, they take a quarterback. Yes, a quarterback. And that, of course, that quarterback is Tyrod Taylor, who was taken by the Ravens. Not a bad quarterback at all. And probably a lot better than anything that's going on in San Francisco right now. I know they got Jimmy Garoppolo, but we finally get to see, was he just a product? I mean, not that he was super amazing, but is he a product of Bill Belichick? Just like a lot of people have questions about over there in New England. 182. They take Ronald Johnson, absolute, and not a bust because it's a late pick, but instead of Ronald Johnson, they take an interesting pick here, and that would be Dan Bailey, 82 overall kicker, great kicker. I have him in the Legacy CFM, of course, and he's actually a pretty damn good player, and it's kind of ironic, though, because I believe during that time, the Niners did actually have a really good kicker, but now their kicker's not so great. And Dan Bailey would be a much better pick, I think. Here at 190, they took Colin Jones, I believe a safety, and instead of him at 190, they take Jason Kelsey, solid center, long time for the Eagles, still is playing for them, I believe, and some pretty damn good stats, and he's been pretty solid for them, and with this banged-up offensive line, definitely get a huge upgrade here. And then 211, the draft wasn't too great, after that, so at 211, I'm going to say they chose the right player at Bruce Miller. They had him at fullback for quite a while. Not a whole lot better they could have gotten there, so I'm just going to say it's the correct pick. And then at 239, Mike Person, I believe an offensive tackle, and instead of an offensive tackle, they get a guy you might have heard of, and that would be Chris Harris Jr., which is starting to build up a great, amazing defense, just like the Niners, I think, used to be known for with Patrick Willis and whatnot. I remember Justin Smith being on the D-line, getting undercredited, although I believe he was actually a 99 on Madden for a while, but Chris Harris Jr. at 239, reaching in that, I believe, undrafted pool now. And then at 250, the last pick of the 2011 draft for the San Francisco 49ers, they take Curtis Holcomb, and instead, they get out a wide receiver from another division rival, and that would be Doug Baldwin, of course, another Seattle Seahawk, becoming the Seattle Niners. Great pick at 250, and that concludes 2011. Now, as if you thought it couldn't get any more Seattle in here, it's about to. 2012, A.J. Jenkins, the wide receiver, complete bust. And instead of A.J. Jenkins, they take Bobby Wagner, completing this Legion of Boom pretty damn close. At least the members that matter just about. Could have had Cam Chancellor, I believe, but we didn't go for him. But either way, Bobby Wagner at 30 instead of A.J. Jenkins, a way better pick. And then at 61, the Niners took LaMichael James. An interesting pick at running back. Not bad. But they could have had a way better player. And once again, from the Seattle Seahawks, our new starting quarterback, Russell Wilson, 90 overall, very underrated. And here, he's got a little bit more talent. Not a hugely improved offensive line, but I would say a bit more talent on the offense and on the defense too, surprisingly. Here, going on the defensive route, 117, the Niners took Joe Looney, an offensive guard. I think he was a guard. And instead they take one of the players from my Packers, first one on the list, and the only one on the list, Mike Daniels. It could have been between Mike Daniels and Josh Norman. I feel that we already had 2 good corners, maybe even 3, and Mike Daniels fills up another defensive tackle spot, and he's a pretty damn good player, even though he costed us yesterday, huge early in the game, gave him an extension of the drive, which turned into a touchdown. We lost by 13. You never know what Mike Daniels might have sparked early in that game, but still here, good pick, better than Joe Looney, I like to think. And now we're getting into some not-so-great picks, but better ones. Darius Fleming, and instead of Darius Fleming at 165, they take George Iloka, big 6'4" body from the Bengals, a pretty damn good player there. Safety, a little bit of an issue here. Eric Reed, I don't know where to peg him. I can't remember if he's doing well or not. Tart has done really well, though, I will say, and he is actually going to play corner for us at number 3. But here, George Iloka gives him a lot more depth at safety. Now at 180, a position we don't really need, but once again, if we're going to make a better draft, you got to replace the players we don't need, the players that weren't great or don't need. Trenton Robinson, instead of him, at 180, we have ourselves a backup middle linebacker, Danny Trevathan, and, nothing really much to say here, but still a better pick. Going on to the undrafteds, not 199, they take Jason Slowey, and instead of him, they take Burfict, another Bengal player, and another outside linebacker as well, or just linebacker in general coverage. Much better pick. And down to the final pick of the 2012 redo draft. And instead of Cam Johnson at 237, to finish this redo, basically, we take Damon Harrison, big 350-pounder from the Jets, undrafted. Technically, he's a Giant now. But that will conclude the redo. Of course, offensive line is a huge issue. Really hasn't upgraded much, but the offense in general, the playmakers, tremendous upgrade. 99 overall, 93, 92, 88, 90, 95. Then the defense, a really big upgrade. 96, 82, 86, 90, 98, 90. Daniels isn't even starting. Buckner, 90, of course, originally. Harrison, 93. Watt, 99. 94, 93, 93, 79. And then, of course, new kicker, Dan Bailey. So, let's go on to see how the Niners do. Usually they go, under a good, I would say, 5-11 is the best you'll usually see from them. Let's go to the playoffs, see if we're a part of them. And hopefully this doesn't super over-sim. Let me know what you guys think right away. What's the record going to be? I think the Bears one was very close to being the... I can't remember if we won the Super Bowl. I don't think we did. I think we lost in it, but I don't see this as being a Super Bowl team. I don't know what years are going to, do it, or / what team, obviously. If we did the Packers redo, it would be probably a Super Bowl year one. A lot of other top-tier teams the same. But let's see if we can make the playoffs at least. I mean, if we don't, I don't know what the hell to tell you about this sim. So 13-3 are the Niners. What is it? We did not see the awards. Hopefully they're still there because it skipped the wild card for some reason. Russell Wilson did not have a great season in the slightest. Rushing, LeGarrette Blount was a boss. Kind of Carlos Hyde as well. 20 touchdowns. That's really sick. Receiving, Brown and Bryant. Baldwin at 789. And everyone else kind of up there. Blocking, offensive line probably didn't play too well. They actually didn't play too badly either, though. Looking at defense now, what was the sack totals? 13.5 for Houston, 9 for Watt. Doesn't seem like a whole lot if we're being 100% honest. Picks, decent picks, I suppose. Kicking 12 for 14. There's a bright spot. Let's see if we won any awards. See what rankings we were as well. Third in offense. Defense, however, now should be top 5 easily. Number 1, 3-0, 1D. One direct. I'm sorry. Let's take a look at the NFC. Do we have any awards at all? A single award or not? 13-3 is a pretty damn good record. Still not good enough to get an award. Okay, that's interesting. Not even kicker was close, apparently. Let's take a look, though. I can't remember if I simmed through it. I think I usually sim through it. I don't watch them. That would take too long, I think. And the first game we lose. Wow. Was that against the Packers, right? I mean, hopefully. Am I right? Not going to happen. Divisional round against the Packers, 42-31. Let's take a look. Very similar stats. Rodgers just kind of went off. Okay. So Rodgers had 6 touchdowns, 0 picks. Rushing, they were very similar to us. Russell Wilson had a rushing touchdown. Marty B, Antonio Brown, Dez Bryant. They definitely did way better than us at just about everything. They even had more tackles than us, it appeared. I mean, that's not a great game at all, but it was somewhat close. Unfortunate, not even close. Like, this was definitely one of the worst results we've ever had from one of these redos. Still a great team, though. Let's go to the Super Bowl, I guess, see who wins this thing. Surprising, you know. Once again, obviously, a lot of these players do... Is this going to, like, skip over again? I don't know why that does that. I have no clue why that does that, and it pisses me off. But obviously, you know, we took some players from certain teams. Let's see if I can... No, not schedule. Let's see if I can try to find whatever the hell the winner looks like. LA is home to the best football team in the land after beating the Bills 48-42. So the Rams win one, which is interesting. Maybe the Rams, but not the Bills. I don't even know if the Rams are real, to be honest. What is their record here? 11-5. What happened to the wide receivers? Oh, do we see? Oh, wow. So this is what happens according to a 1 year where players need to be re-signed. So you see Doug Baldwin's still here. I must call him Bug Daldwin. We lose Bobby Wagner. Somehow Burfict's back. Earl Thomas is here. Chris Harris Jr., Sherman. The fact that we even kept Mike Daniels still is really stupid. Let's see the free agency recap, I suppose. Antonio Brown landed with the Bucks. Jaguars got Jaguars are the Wagners. Des Bryant with Redskins. Seahawks got Alshon. That's not even an us thing. Cowboys get Sean Lee back. Damon Harrison to the Dolphins. Garrett Blunt to the Colts. Tyrod to the Bills, ironically. Pierre Garcon, Eagles. It's an interesting one, actually. Kels to the Jets. Trevathan to the Redskins. Redskins land a couple of guys. Interesting, though. Dan Bailey to the Falcons. That's a weird one. But I mean, that's pretty much the redo. Let me know if you go back to the draft and tell me if there would have been someone else you would have went with. I think the one that I kind of want back now is, instead of Mike Daniels, to take Josh Norman, because I totally forgot that we already had the numbers and we did not need an extra DT or defensive lineman. Cornerback would have been slightly more needed, but at the end of the day, offensive line was the key. So maybe instead of going for Josh Norman with Mike Daniels, we keep Mike Daniels, but instead of Watt, we take Tyron. One high overall offensive lineman might have changed this whole thing for us. Who knows? Because the offensive line was dirt poor. But besides the point, hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. 200 likes, and we'll do another one this week. And if not, we'll do one next Tuesday, I suppose. Let me know what team/years you want to see next. Also, if you have any what-if/experiment ideas, also send me those, as we haven't done one of those in quite a bit. But it is what it is. If I find one that I really like, I'll do it. But anyways, hope you guys come back for next video. But until next video, see ya!